We have a presentation here. This is to receive a presentation on California's Senate Bill 450, elections, vote by mail voting, and mail ballot elections from the San Mateo Elections Office, which for this evening we have the Deputy Elections Officer with us. Thank you for being here. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. We do have a presentation that we can put up on the screen, hopefully. Terrific. Thank you so much for putting that up. These are exciting times in San Mateo County in that we are leading the pack in the state of California under the California Voters' Choice Act. And so let's talk a little bit about the act and how that's impacting voting in San Mateo County and ultimately throughout the state of California. Let's see if this all... Oh, okay, this one's done. Okay, fine, thank you. I think we have it.
We got it?
There you go. Thank you. So, what is the California Voters' Choice Act, or SB 450? First of all, it's landmark legislation that is effective January 1st, 2018, that fundamentally transforms elections to an all-mail ballot vote center model with ballot drop-off locations, and is part of a sweeping collection of election reforms that are designed to increase voter participation in the state of California. 14 counties have been selected to participate under the California Voters' Choice Act. There are 5 of these counties right now that are proceeding with implementation of the act for the June 5th election. They are San Mateo, Madera, Napa, Nevada, and Sacramento counties. And I'm proudly to say that San Mateo County is truly leading the pack on that because of our experience in conducting all-mail ballot elections for the state of California under AB 2028. Cover that in a little bit. Applicable elections. The Act applies to all elections, including presidential and gubernatorial elections. It's distinguished from the San Mateo County all-mail ballot election that we had in November 2017, which was under AB 2028, and that only applied to local elections. So if the election crossed the county line, we couldn't conduct the election as an all-mail ballot election. So it didn't apply to presidential elections, didn't apply to gubernatorial or Senate, or even congressional elections. It had to be a local election. This, however, is much broader. It applies to every election that's conducted, whether it's federal, state, or local. And the opportunity to participate in this program is discretionary at the local level. The California Voters' Choice Act election dates, we're targeting the June 5th statewide direct primary and also the November 6, 2018 general election. So what you see in terms of a model that's going to be implemented this June, we will carry that into the November election. The California Voters' Choice Act is just that. It is providing voters a choice or a variety of options to cast their ballots. The options are very simple. It's to vote by mail. Over 67% of the county's residents currently are permanent vote by mail registered voters. It also creates a vote center model where there will be vote centers sprinkled throughout the county, strategically placed along transportation corridors and population centers that will act as polling places. So what the act in essence does, it changes the traditional polling place election structure to a vote center election structure. Under a traditional polling place election, you will see 205 polling places generally throughout the county. Under the California Voters' Choice Act, you will see that there will be 39 vote centers, as I said, strategically placed throughout the county. There will also, with the vote centers, be ballot drop-off locations that are designated, and we'll cover those in greater detail in a moment. Let's talk a little bit about vote by mail. Every registered voter is mailed a ballot, and those ballots went out yesterday, so they should be in your hands this week, going through the mail. And what this does is it provides every registered voter the opportunity to vote from home, their office, and the convenience of their own private environments. You do not have to go to a vote center. You do not have to go to a polling place. You can vote from the convenience of your home. The beauty of it, it is also provided with a return envelopes that are postage paid. I might add, of all of the counties in the state of California participating in this election, we are the only ones that are providing postage paid envelopes. We're trying to make it as easy and convenient for all voters to send their ballots in. We've been complimented on the Secretary of State for doing that. The ballots will be provided in Spanish, Chinese, and English. And postmark +3 means that you can mail that ballot up through Election Day, as long as it's postmarked by midnight on June 5th, and it's received in Election Central. By June 8th, that ballot will be cast and counted. Let's talk a little bit about vote centers. As I mentioned, vote centers are very, very similar to polling places, but they will provide a variety of services that polling places have not been able to do. And one of the key elements of vote centers is that under a traditional polling place election, you can only vote in the polling place that serves your precincts. In a vote center model, you can vote at any one of the county's 39 vote centers that are throughout the county. So if you work in San Bruno and you live in Redwood City, you can vote in San Bruno's voting center. You don't have to go home to vote in Redwood City. Early voting starts 29 days before Election Day. We just opened our vote centers yesterday. We have 4 vote centers, both in North County, Central County, and South County. And we also have one in East Palo Alto. Those are our 29-day vote centers. Those are not required under the California Voters' Choice Act. That decision to open vote centers 29 days before the election and to have these vote centers in place is an election decision that's made at the local level. The Voters' Choice Act deals with opening vote centers 10 days before Election Day, and I'll cover that in a moment. What is truly innovative about this process is that those vote centers will be open on 2 weekends before the election. It's the first time in the history of the state of California that a polling place and a voting center will be open on a holiday. So on Memorial Day, your vote centers throughout the county will be open to accept ballots and to provide services to the voters. At least one vote center will be provided in each city or town, and voters can receive replacement ballots, they can drop off their voted ballots, and they can receive a variety of services at the vote center. Vote centers will be housed not only in facilities that are convenient, but those that also provide the technology available to have access to the VoteCal database, which allows for immediate verification of voter status. That allows us to perform conditional voter registration for those voters that wish to actually register to vote at a vote center. You couldn't do that in a polling place. You can do that at a vote center. And conditional voter registration, I'll cover that in a little bit, but voters will be able to register to vote all the way through Election Day. It'll be a conditional voter registration, and it will be a conditional provisional ballot that'll be provided. But unlike prior elections where you had to register to vote 15 days prior to the election in order to participate in that election, conditional voter registration now allows voters to actually register to vote all the way up through Election Day. There will be provided multilingual and accessibility assistance, and there will be at least 3 accessible voting machines for every vote center, and those will be electronic voting machines. The vote center formula is 29 days before Election Day. As I mentioned, there'll be 4 vote centers. 10 days before Election Day, there'll be 1 vote center for every 50,000 registered voters. That equates to 9 vote centers will be open 10 days before Election Day. 3 days before Election Day, there will be 1 vote center for every 10,000 registered voters. That equals 39 vote centers throughout the county. In terms of ballot drop-offs, there will be 1 ballot drop-off location for every 15,000 registered voters. That equates to 26 that are required. However, we will have 28 deployed for this election throughout the county. Those that are Exterior boxes will have military-grade material, very impressive boxes. They almost look like mini tanks sitting on the sidewalk there. Very secured drop-off boxes. This is a bird's eye view of the vote centers and ballot drop-off locations that will be deployed throughout San Mateo County. Just gives you an idea of the sprinkling of those facilities throughout the county. And as you can see, they're along the major transportation corridors, and one is allocated to each city. In San Bruno, their vote center locations will be on May 26th through June 5th. You will have one at Skyline College Building from June 2nd through the 5th. The 3-day vote centers, there will be one at City Hall in Conference Room 115, and you will have one ballot drop-off location May 7th through June 5th at the City Clerk's office on El Camino Real. Let's talk a little bit about the Elections Administration Plan. It requires each county that's going to participate in the California Voters' Choice Act to prepare a comprehensive elections plan that discusses in detail the specifics of the administration of the election in the county. We have our Elections Administration Plan, which is available. I believe all of you have received a copy of this, and it is online. It is extremely informative document regarding the California Voters' Choice Act and how it applies specifically here in San Mateo County. It's been developed in a collaborative manner with our Voting Accessory Advisory Committee, our Language Accessibility Advisory Committee. It also has an extensive voter education and outreach plan, and it has been approved by the Secretary of State. These are the methods that we will deploy, and we are currently doing it, to get the word out through public meetings, public service announcements, radio and television, social media, direct voter contact. You're going to see some more postcards that are going to be sent to each registered voter individually, website postings, and multilingual communications. Something that's new and innovative that was recommended by our millennial staff here. One of the things that I've noticed over the years in being involved in election is that perhaps one of the most important events of Election Day is to receive your I voted sticker. People that vote by mail generally go to the polling places and go to vote centers. Even though they have a mail ballot, they'll go in and drop it off just so they can get their I voted sticker. Well, the idea came out, why don't we provide a digital I voted sticker for those who vote by mail? So you can go on our website, you can go to the voter registration lookup in terms of your voter file, and once you have cast your ballot and it's been counted, this sticker will pop up, and you can then use it as your digital signature in sending emails and other forms of communication to show that you have not only voted. There's also another sticker that'll pop up when you get online that will also show you a digital recognition of the years of service when you originally registered to vote in the county. So we'll have them in 5, 10, 15, and 20 years of service. So you can proudly show the number of years that you've been a registered voter, should you choose to do so. Vote center technology. This has been a very, very big subject over the last year in terms of the security of the election system and our facilities and our technology. For this election, we will use our existing electronic voting systems. We're going to deploy 400 E-Slate voting machines. That's approximately 10 voting machines in each vote center. We'll also have 210 laptops that'll have VPN and Wi-Fi connections. And in the 2020 presidential election, we are now planning the process of evaluating a new voting system that will be designed for a vote center environment that will probably move our electronic voting process to a paper voting system, back to the ballot, where you actually mark it on paper, and then it'll be scanned at the vote center and cast and counted in that manner. The ballot will be kept and put in a ballot box for ballot tracking purposes and chain of custody. As I mentioned, technology has been a real big area of discussion here. I would like to just basically say, in no uncertain terms, that Our voting systems in San Mateo County are safe and secure. Keep in mind that when we talk about voting systems, there are two areas that voting systems are broken into. There is the voter registration system, which is managed by the state of California, called VoteCal, and then there is the voting tabulation system, which is managed locally by the county elections official. One's a tabulation system, the other one is a registration system. They are not connected, they are not online, and they are closed and encrypted systems. Very, very safe and secure process that we deploy in San Mateo County. These are some of the best practices that we have in place for those systems. And most of the issues that you've heard over the last year have dealt with the voter registration side of the equation. The vendor that we use, Hard InterCivic, has been in this business for our voting tabulation system for over 30 years in 18 states. Not one vote ever cast through that system has ever been compromised, not one. And so true is in San Mateo County since we deployed that system. It's now going on 12 years, a very safe and secure process. If there is an error, it is usually tracked back to a human error, not a voting system error. And it's been very rare and few and far in between that occurs. Conditional voter registration, I touched upon it, and that is the new law now allows people to vote all the way, to register to vote, and to actually vote all the way up through Election Day. And the system will be administered at the vote centers for all those who wish to participate in conditional voter registration. Here's our contact information. You are familiar with our website and our address and our phone numbers, and also the California Secretary of State's office is there. This information can be found online on our website, and it's just loaded with information. We hope that you will avail yourself of that opportunity to find out more about this election. And on that note, that concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, it'd be my pleasure to answer them.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions from council?
Chair,
Yeah, Michael.
so just one question around about fraud prevention, and with all these ballots going out in the mail, and maybe some of them going to addresses where a voter used to live and no longer lives, or perhaps is deceased. How is can you tell us about the process of verifying that the ballots are actually coming back from the person it was intended to be from?
Very good question. Well, we have, we're again one of the few counties that have a return ballot address that comes directly back to us if the voter doesn't live there or is moved or is deceased. That ballot does come back to us. But let's say it doesn't. Let's say it stays there. Under vote by mail, you have a signature on file. And that signature, when you cast your ballot, you have to sign your ballot, of course. You have to sign the envelope. When that comes through, we actually have our voter registration database, and it comes up on screens. It goes through 3 or 4 different sets of eyes in terms of checkpoints to confirm whether the signature that we're seeing that came through is the same signature that's on the voter registration card. So that's the first step through the process. We get the ballot, it's scanned for those signatures, and then it goes through our ballot, our signature scanning and verification unit. We have 10 or 15 people there that are on computers just doing that all day. If there is a question, then it's elevated up to a supervisor and a team that will determine whether that signature belongs to that person. If it doesn't, we will call that. We will call that voter, and we will attempt to make sure that we correct that process. But it's a very secure process that we go through.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? None. Thank you very much for your time and the
My pleasure.
presentation and information.
My pleasure, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.